Hello, this is a sideshow, and I'm Theodore Parker. Today is Wednesday, August 24th, 2022. Still advocating wearing the mask. Check the numbers in your area for COVID-19 and everything else that's being talked about in news regarding to contagious and infectious diseases. Temperature right now is about 64 in this area, going up to 86. Seems like it's going to be a sunshiny day. We have had a little touch of rain, a little bit of weather going on. It's again Wednesday, middle of the week. A couple more days to do it, and be into the weekend. First up in the news, Arizona passed a law barring video recording within 8 feet of law enforcement. The ACLU and news organizations are now suing. Video by observers in the crowd on any incidents involving the police or any other situation on the street is almost like the bread and butter for source verification. So anyway, it goes on. Among other concerns, plaintiffs argue that complying with the law will be difficult in fluid and crowded situations like protests. They also say that the law is vague. Law enforcement activity is defined very broadly, and it's unclear what constitutes a verbal warning, part of what's set down as far as video recording is concerned. The law, which was sponsored by Republican State Representative John Kavanaugh, states violators will be charged with a misdemeanor. The ACLU said it could be punishable by up to a month in jail. I'm quite sure none of us want to go at all. So a month could seem like an eternity. Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich, Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell, Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Penzone are named as defendants in their official capacity. News media, news organizations, and ACLU in Arizona protesting that no video law, 8 feet. Number 2 on the list, never far from a camera. Trump held on tightly to sensitive secrets and information about U.S. intelligence gathering at Mar-a-Lago, source tells WAPO, Washington Post. Trump held on tightly to these actions. After months of Trump's reported refusal to cooperate, the FBI on August 8th seized 26 boxes. That number keeps growing. I heard like 11 at first, and then the 8th. Wow, time flies. 26 boxes of documents from Trump's South Florida residence, including 11 sets marked as classified, one of which had the highest security of top secret. The Post Tuesday's report, which is based on court findings, correspondence, and memories of people familiar with the investigation, follows a bombshell Monday New York Times report which alleged that the government thus far has retrieved more than 300 classified documents from Trump since he left office. Never a dull moment. Interjection here on the car bombing of Trump's guru for pro-Russian activities in the war on Ukraine. As I stated previously, the man and his daughter were scheduled to leave together, but some last-minute changes. She got into his car, and he got into another car. And when she attempted to drive off, the car exploded. Okay, the latest news on that is that it was an Ukrainian mother, a 43-year-old Ukrainian mother who did that and drove in and out of Russia in a Mini Cooper. So that was probably the last profile image that I would have come up with. A 43-year-old Ukrainian mother driving in and out of Russia in a Mini Cooper. So the reference was to the 1969 movie, The Italian Job. Just thought I would throw that in there. In Massachusetts, 4 family members, before I read this, if you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide, please contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. 4 family members dead in apparent murder-suicide incident in Massachusetts. The relatives were all found dead in Lynn, Massachusetts, which is roughly 13 miles north of Boston. 3 male victims appeared to have died from gunshot wounds. So this was like about 2:53 in the afternoon. Police were called to a home there because of reported gunshots. When they entered, they found 2 males dead in their 30s. Excuse me, apologize. The Essex County District Attorney's Office also identified a female suspect who authorities believe may have committed suicide by shooting herself. An initial investigation determined that a 31-year-old female was a potential suspect, the DA's office confirmed. So later on, they also found another male shot dead in a vehicle, and then they found the 31-year-old female. So investigation provided them with information that all of them were related. So they're calling it a murder-suicide there in Lynn, Massachusetts. Back to this case with Whitey Bulger. Notorious gangster Whitey Bulger was murdered just 6 minutes after going to prison. So it's the notorious gangster James Whitey Bulger was murdered by inmates just 6 minutes after the doors unlocked on his first morning at Hazleton Prison in West Virginia. Bulger's attorney, Hank Brennan, has called the charges against the 3 charged with Bulger's death inconsequential, as he explained that the Bulger family hold the Bureau of Prisons responsible for his death after they made the decision to move Bulger from a secure unit, and he was confined to a wheelchair. Bulger was serving a life sentence for 11 murders at a secure unit prison before being moved to the general population of Hazleton Prison. So I guess there would be some questions as to why that was done, him being confined to a wheelchair and serving a life sentence, and then put him into a, by reputation, violent prison such as Hazleton in West Virginia. So the attorneys pursuing that, looking at the Bureau of Prisons. In LA's Power 106 radio personality, American Cholo, uses N-word and sparks local protests, videos with it. Only offended if it affects them. That was part of somebody else's comment. But it says dozens of Mexican Americans showed up to the No Jumper studio and demanded host Adam 22 remove an allegedly edited video he posted of Tejada using the N-word with a harder, sparking a conflict between the Latino and Black communities. So if you live in Los Angeles and you're a fan of modern hip hop, then you're probably familiar with the Power 106, one of the culturally iconic broadcast stations in the city. The music platform has deep roots in communities of color throughout LA, and is widely recognized for showcasing the talents and creations of artists from all racial backgrounds. That being said, the scenario or the situation is that American Cholo calls Tiger out for a video that he has where some part of the video, this Mexican, perceived Mexican person, man, in his apartment, and his apartment's dirty. He comes out getting into his lowrider, and tortilla chips fall from the roof of the vehicle or something like this. So he said, as comparison, it would be like the Tiger doing a video where a black man comes out of his dirty apartment, gets into his lowrider, and watermelon falls out of the ceiling of the lowrider. So Tiger went on to explain, how much input he had with the video, that at the time he was not in LA, he was in Europe, and subsequently, all this is on video. It's about 3 or 4 videos in the article. So it's not like you have to read somebody's impression. You have the video of the interview and everything else. Excuse me. So so subsequently, Tiger pulls the video. I think it's Io Kamada or something like that is the name of the video. Pulls the video. So now a few days later, American Cholo turns right around and gets on his program, however it is, and starts using the N-word after getting on Tiger about giving this impression of the Mexican Latino community. So now the turnaround is that people who are aware or older or whatever, because their children are listening to Power 106 or trying to formulate some kind of impression of how American Cholo wanted to protest because it affected his community, but he doesn't see where saying something with the N-word would be just as offensive to somebody in the black community. So it's kind of going on around and around. I didn't really have a date on that, but it just goes to show that music as a platform, can raise a lot of issues. It can raise a lot of situations. And like some of the other video commentary brings out, it's not trying to interfere with somebody's freedom of speech per se, but you still have to have some common sense in mind. You don't want to go around pulling somebody else's coat about something they're doing and turn around and do the same thing yourself. That wouldn't make much sense. So anyway, they were calling for protests, people to show up at Power 106 station, no jumper. To do that, I don't have a timeline on it. It may have already happened, but obviously this was recent. Wednesday, August 24th, 2022, The Sideshow with Theodore Parker. That's it. Hashtag.